And you could theoretically go on the internet and just kind of like zap into some database here, and it knows the various databases and which ones are more reliable and which ones are go faster, and it knows that, you know, how much need I have for speed. If I can click and I, you know, say, okay, I'll be back in a second, so it knows, okay, I've got a while, and maybe it checks the 2 or 3 different places and calls these together and says, okay, wait, no, this database is different from that database, which means that there's a discrepancy. You know, there's a discrepancy. So either there's not a discrepancy and I'm wrong, the computer has to know that it's something wrong with us, or, you know, something's wrong with one of these things here. And relevance, again, because you can instantly get into an infinite net, of just querying of all this thing it doesn't actually need. In every stage, you constantly try to figure out the relevance of a thing. So it might know, and this is how we humans, like, you know, we put data in the back of our mind or something. How we develop hunches, I guess. You know, okay, I don't have any direct information about this, but last time I did things on this regard. I inferred a couple of things, which now my inference tells me that I should go to database B here because that's generally good. And if the computer has some spare processor cycles lying around, some spare memory, so the thing, it would actually take up like all your memory all the time, but it'd be so fluid that I'd actually be perfectly fine. You know, if I throw in more very important data, then it can just push out the other things as being not quite as relevant. But it zips around. So let's say I've got, you know, what was it? Oh, they were just talking about, you know, you've got a music collection. There you go. Most people don't research Israel. Whatever. You've got a music collection, and you want to, like, sort things in various ways. We want a fluid file system. Fluid that goes even down into the nether. I think that's such a cool idea. Okay, I don't actually know this data, but I know that I could find out. And if there's a certain piece of data that you're always needing to know, you know, every couple of seconds you find yourself finding out the same thing, and if it's always the same thing, then the computer should be like, wait a minute, you know, apparently this is very relevant. Let's move it into the actual hard drive space or actual RAM space. And so the computer will happen to know right in the hard drive certain things that previously you would always have to calculate because it's fluid. So say you have a music collection, right? And say, okay, what do we have? We have these files. What is a file? Well, it's this collection of like bits and stuff, and you put them together, and it's good. And, you know, even the computer doesn't quite comprehend what makes that good, but okay, it's good. It's very important, very relevant. Okay. So I get this thing on my computer. Okay, this is a song. Computer's like, song, right? Okay, and then we associate like the idea of it being, well, I mean, gee, it goes to infinity, right? I give it an MP3 file of, oh, I don't know, Strawberry Fields or something. Okay, so this is a music file. Or this is sound. So it's like, okay, this is a file, which I suppose you have to kind of hard code it to know what a basic file is, or depending on your definition of hard coding. But it knows that, okay. And then okay, this is an MP3 file. MP3, okay. So now we associate this with the idea of being an MP3 file. And in some way, I need to be able to say, computer, find MP3 files. And it should be able to search all the files and find them, and or it's already got a list made up, because maybe I make that search all the time. Okay. And I tell it, okay, it's a music file. It's like, music, okay, there's music, and then maybe it tries to look at this thing, what makes this music? I don't know, but it forms maybe a hypothesis. It's got to know what's a hypothesis and what's not. Or various levels of hypothesizing, you know, relatively certain and not certain at all, total guess, and, you know, whatever. Okay, so this is the thing, and this is a song, and it can compile, you know, certain data about the song, maybe. I give it a module, and you can know the beats per minute and various things. I can tell, okay, so this was made by the Beatles, and like Beatles. Now it's got to associate this thing with being made by. Now, made by itself is. Well, I started using the old term BICE again. Remember I came up with that for Cyber Wars, Basic Integrated Cybernetic Element, and so it boils down to a number of BICEs in a sense, of which there's an infinite number, and they can each be of any size, essentially, including negative sizes for when it's not on the disk, but it knows how to calculate that. Even if it doesn't know how to calculate something, it could know how to calculate maybe go online, or to ask me, or something, for whatever it is it may be calculating. You know, I could be like, find beats per minute, and it's like, okay, he just gave me some words. Words, it started with find. I'm just going to find this thing, minute is unit of time. Time is, what is beat? Beat, ding, what is beat? And then, like, maybe I describe that in natural language, that'd be pretty interesting. Or more likely, you have like some sort of little module thing. Oh, it's this thing. Beat. Oh, okay, it's this thing, and it happens in music, and it happens in. Okay, and that's associated with music. So and then furthermore knows. Okay, so if I find a file later on that has like a beat to it thing, I could say, yeah, this is probably a music file, something like that. And then it could know music files without even mentioning that. Like you have a bunch of MP3s, and it knows the music files from say, speech. You just download speech on a file, and random things like that. Then, so this is made by. Yes, made by. It's this thing. Made by is this vice, which is associated with many things. Among them, songs. Songs are generally made by someone. Like, okay. So now strawberry. Now this thing is associated with this little text file, Strawberry Fields, right? That's the name of it. And that's associated with it being a song. How's that associated? Like, well, Strawberry Fields, the name, refers back to Strawberry Fields, the idea of the song. And when you get to the idea of the song, you know, there's like the actual data regarding the song, say the MP3 track itself, which is very, very relevant. I suppose you know, obviously 6 might compile. The computer can eventually say, like, okay, so how many words were sung in this thing? And it might, like, tally those up. But that's not relevant, and so it's running out of space, so they'll easily dump that thing and then calculate it at a later time. Depending on how relevant it may be. Maybe you really want to know how many songs there are in each of your song, in each of the things you've got compiled. You got to tell it how relevant certain things are, and maybe it's more relevant for these types of songs, less relevant for these types of songs. Yeah, this goes to infinity, it's crazy! Okay, so now it's associated with There's the idea of this specific song associated with. I'm bouncing my head around. Somehow that helps me to think. The idea of this specific song. And I'm doing this into the coin. And I'm interrupting myself. The idea of the specific song. Of this specific song, which is linked to the idea of there being specific songs, because for all you know, for all a computer initially knows, song itself is sort of a generalized term or something. Like, it doesn't know. Okay, so this file, okay, thing associated with its name. That name is spelled in text, so that's associated with the idea of text, which is associated with the idea of visual communication, if you want to go that far. And this is all associated with MP3, the idea of MP3, and the name of MP3, and that's associated with this encoder, and that encoder thing can, you know, read MP3s and play them and put them to the speaker, and the speaker is associated with noise. The noise makes sense because it's a song, and the computer is like, I see, songs, noise, yes, connection, okay, song, and it's only because computers can think so fast that we can expect them to do any of this, even when we can't expect them to do any of this. Okay, so it's associated with a song thing, which is associated with the general idea of a song. There are various things of songs, and then there's the idea of music and how the vague relation between a song as like a particular unit of music defined by certain characteristics, generally the fact that it being in one MP3 file, but you might eventually say, look, I have this MP3 file and it's got like 3 songs in it back to back to back, and you point that out, and maybe the computer can later on figure this out by itself. Oh wait, this is actually 3 different songs, so this is actually the thing, this is like this thing, okay, this is the Beatles, okay, so it's made by the Beatles. Are all songs made by somebody? And you're like, yes they are. Like, okay, put that in memory. Songs are types of music. They generally have a name, and they have a format thing, and they have a location in my memory, and they're made by someone. What is made by? Well, made by is a relation. The made by bias is itself a relation between something that makes and something that was made, essentially. Now, what is a relation? Relation itself is a bias. And relation is a thing that we use to describe two things that are related to each other without being things themselves, and we get all the way into ontology again here, and what counts as a thing and what counts as a... It's very, very fluid.